Welcome to Marcy Talks Money and Life with your host, Money Marcy.
Hello, I am Money Marcy. Welcome. I am thrilled to welcome today's guests, Kelly Arrendell and Sydney Arrendell. Kelly is the mother of this duo. She has spent her professional and personal life focusing on the spiritual element in self-growth. She earned undergraduate and graduate degrees in religious studies. Kelly loves observing humanity and the world around her. For her, humor is one of the greatest gifts in this life, and it has enhanced and informed her spiritual life. Their podcast highlights how our own evolution as a person affects not only ourselves, but the communities we are a part of and the people we encounter. She loves connecting with others and hearing their stories, knowing there is much to learn. Sydney is the daughter of this duo and has a background in music. She earned her undergraduate degree in piano performance from OU and her master's degree in conducting from Oklahoma City University, which is the same school her mom went to. She conducted a church choir and orchestra, worked as a conductor for an after-school program called El Sistema in OKC, and started a community orchestra in Edmond, Oklahoma. What qualifies her to do their podcast? Probably not too much, but she loves talking with her mom, learning from her, and creating communities with people that have similar interests. Welcome, Kelly and Sydney, and I didn't say it in the intro, but I love the title of your podcast, An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth.
Yes.
How did you come up with the title?
So Mom was very insistent that she believes she never has all of the answers, even though I think she does. And so we were trying to brainstorm, and I was like, well, it's like a guide, we can be a guide to people. She's like, no, because I can't have all the answers. So she was very insistent on the word incomplete.
Incomplete, because we constantly grow.
Yeah.
And the world changes, so even if you knew everything on this day, by tomorrow, something changed somewhere.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So we knew we wanted it to be about personal growth, and then she was very insistent it had to be incomplete.
Well, what made you decide you wanted to podcast?
Honestly, it was right. Yeah, it was pretty soon after I had my son. And I was like, I feel like there's so many things going on in life that I can go to my mom for and ask advice for, and she'll have either good insights or whatever. And I know that, friends and other people that don't have that sort of a resource. And so I was like, you know what? People should know what you're saying, and other people need to hear your own wisdom that you have about life and how to be a better person. So let's just put it out there. So that's why.
And I said, okay. And she said, you have to show up every week, because I don't always commit well.
No, you will start projects and not all of them finish, so.
Hence the incomplete.
Yes.
And you always knew you were going to work on it together, because that was the whole point.
Yes, that was the whole point. Yep. It's like, I was like, okay, we have great discussions pretty frequently. And so other people should listen to what we talk about, I think.
Yeah.
So basically when you're working on something, Sydney, I guess typically you say, oh, this is something I want to make sure we share, or this is something that happened to me or happened to someone, and let's talk about it.
Yes. And a lot of it is either I have questions about the world, either spiritually or just how my mom can be so calm all the time. And so it's either questions I come up with or things that I see happening in the world, or maybe a book I read sparks it. And so kind of a lot of different things kind of spark our topics. And sometimes Mom will come up,
I come up with some of we started trying to do some experiential things that are out of our comfort zone, because that's how you grow.
Yes.
So we've done axe throwing, and we're going to do candle making soon. And so I try to come up with those.
Yes.
But she won't do that fly thing yet, where you...
The skydiving?
Oh, I've done iFly. iFly is amazing.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, and you're not jumping out of an airplane. You're just in a wind tunnel.
Right.
Okay.
So it is well within a reasonable risk tolerance,
Okay.
a lot of reasonable security. I never felt that it wasn't safe there.
Okay.
And it was an amazing experience. So I look forward to hearing back from you guys after you go.
Okay. It's a deal.
Okay.
Yay.
In fact, you should videotape it, because you also post on YouTube or something where there are videos, right?
Yeah, we do.
So you gotta videotape it.
Fun. Yes. Can't wait to see your face.
Oh, oh man.
Well, it's going to look like this because you're in the wind tunnel.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
So my podcast,
Yes.
which you're generously guesting on,
Yes.
is about money and life. So what kind of financial conversations did you have growing up? What kind of things, as you've learned and you're having your podcast, I imagine money or financial decisions or grocery shopping or taxes or things have come up either on the podcast or just conversations you've had. How do you approach those?
Do you want to go first or me?
You go ahead,
Um,
because I didn't do well.
no, I was not talked about. Money was not discussed actually, like at all. Other than here is what I had an allowance.
Yes.
Here's your allowance. And you can either choose to spend it or you can choose to save it.
Oh, I told you to give some to the church.
Maybe. I thought it was more spend or save. And my nature is to save. My nature is I don't need anything. If I need something, I'll just ask for it on my birthday. So we did not really talk about it. Now I knew that they had stocks and investments and stuff. And so at 17, I had $1,000. And I went to their financial. I was like, I need to go to your financial advisor. So I went and I started a mutual fund. And that was my experience with money before adulthood.
Well, at 17, you're getting ready to spend it all for college. So
Yes. Luckily, they had a college fund.
We had a college fund set aside.
okay, so that was separate, and that was okay.
Yeah.
She knew she had that.
Yes. And then I was like,
Right.
well, I got to save for the rest of my future. So
She has always been that way.
yes.
And
And then you have another daughter that is opposite.
well,
So I
no,
think it
she's
was
like
hard
me.
to
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah. It was very different. And my own upbringing, all my mom told me was, oh, you just have a hole in your pocket? Money burns a hole in your pocket.
Yes.
It was her attitude toward me. And she was frugal
But more than she needed to be.
and then some.
Yeah.
And my dad wanted to give to us because he didn't have stuff. And so there was this struggle of money.
Yeah.
And guilt was put on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know part of that was
Didn't want to put the guilt.
yeah. I thought you'll figure out how to save. That's wrong. I know.
It's not just on you though.
No, it's Dad, we were both that way.
Yeah,
I think-
it just wasn't talked about. Like I just knew that okay, my parents have money, so they must save. My dad works, so they make money, and so you work to make money,
Yeah.
and then you save, and then you save to spend on vacations or whatever fun stuff, you know. So
Well, I
that's
think
just-
we did do a little bit of talking when you got, I think, your driver's license, and you got a
Probably.
checkbook and a debit, and we talked about, you not having the credit card and not
Mhm.
having
too
and
much debt.
not having debt. We did talk a little bit about that. It's your face. Maybe you didn't listen. No, I'm just teasing.
I
We
don't
didn't
remember.
have huge discussions.
And I don't remember being like, this is how. There was no discussion on this is how you budget. This is maybe how much, let's say you have rent in the future, how much maybe that should take up. How do you budget for things? No.
Guilty. Guilty as charged.
But that's not uncommon. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm walking around to tell everybody, hey, you should talk about money. But the reason I'm doing that is because we don't do a great job of it.
We don't.
Our parents talked in different ways depending on their education, their knowledge, their situation as to how much they would talk to about it. Let's pause for a quick break.
Are you writing a book? Do you need an extra set of eyes on it? To make sure it's going in the right direction, to catch problems you really need to fix. I can help with that. This is Karen Martinez, professional editor and frequent guest on Marcy Talks Money and Life. I offer a special service, the extra set of eyes. I help you bring your ideas to life by asking insightful questions and checking your structure, theme, and tone. Call 480-485-7780 or go to myextraeyes.com. That's 480-485-7780 or myextraeyes.com.
My father was a CPA, And as I became more and more interested, we had more and more of those financial talks. But I have a sister and a brother. My brother's a psychologist, my sister is a teacher, and they had conversations, but they were different than the ones I had. So I'm sure if you talk to all three of us, yes, we knew to spend, to save, to donate. We knew there are things you have to make sure that you have enough money for, whether we called it coherently budgeting or just kind of planning ahead.
Yeah.
But we all had different conversations with the same parents, and I
Mhm.
think your sister would say she had different
Oh, I'm sure.
conversations with your parents, or she took different things away from them,
Mhm.
and that's part of the reason that actually having the active conversations is important, because
Mhm.
otherwise it's all about perspective. I
Yeah.
saw them do this, this is what I think it meant, and this is how I'm going to kind of take that into my life, and if you misinterpreted what and why, you're
Yeah.
taking an incomplete image with you.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
It's true.
And you are a natural
Oh, yeah.
saver,
It's just, yeah.
and you just
I mean, I'm sure there are psychological
you'll look
reasons
at me
why,
and
but
go, "Why did you buy new socks?" I like the way they feel.
But you had a whole drawer of perfectly good socks.
Oh, they were getting old.
Right, but there is something that you saw at some point in time, and that made you feel, yeah, I want to save, and that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But now you're looking at things from a different perspective, as a mom, as someone raising your child. You have one or two,
Just one. Yep.
Yeah.
just one, raising your child in a different time than you were raised,
Yeah.
in a different situation than you were raised,
Mhm.
and what are the lessons that your intention is to
Mm,
teach?
that is good. I I would love to start having conversations about it sooner, but in an appropriate way, in a way where you don't put adult problems on a child,
Right.
but in a way it's like, he knows that we go to the store and we pay. He knows that we, and start
He-
simple.
No, okay, so this is what happens. This is the
Yeah.
times we live in. We were out of something, and he looked, "Oh, we better order that. We just order some." And I thought, "Oh, you're in trouble, Sydney." The world we live in.
Yes.
If you're out, you order it.
And but I think too, stop. I think, instilling the idea of, oh, you want something, how do you use your money, in a way where you want to get it? Making it, I think, more obvious that there are choices with money, and, being able to describe it. It's like, oh, I got you a car. You have a car. You're 16, you have a car. How do you think that happened? Do you think that happened because, I had the money sitting aside? How did I help that for you? It's like discussing where things come from, because we
Mhm.
didn't really do that. And hopefully then later that can instill in him.
I
Sorry,
know.
we didn't really do
I
that.
know. I had to buy my car.
I didn't have to do. No.
Right.
But
And because of
instilling-
that, you wanted to make sure she would have a car when she needed it. So that changed
Yes.
her perspective, because the car was there. Whereas
Mhm.
you were looking at it when you were growing up saying, okay, I got to figure out how I'm going to get a car.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Or drive that huge station wagon. What?
But and I think building, I want to be more intentional about building
Yeah.
on this concept of money, and building onto this concept of how does it work in the world? How do you get it? What do you want to do with it? And then how do the things that you have, where does it come from? And why do it's like,
Yeah.
where does it come from? It's not
There's
just
this earning part
earning.
in there.
Yes. Yeah.
And the earning part is a little bit harder for kids.
It is. Oh,
I
yeah.
think I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, and someone asked me what my dad did for a living.
Mhm.
He played on an adding machine and told his clients how much they owed him.
Oh, yeah.
That was, to me, that was an accounting. There was
Is
an
it?
adding machine because there weren't computers
Yeah.
back then.
Yes.
So he did things on an adding machine, and then he wrote bills and sent them to clients. So
Yeah.
I don't know what they owed him money for, but there was an adding machine and there were bills.
Yes. I
Yeah.
love that. But yeah, so I think just building on it, and in a way where it can be healthy, where he doesn't feel like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
go, oh, you guys spend, or you got, there's something healthy to
Yes.
it. And then I am going to sit with him and talk to him about how to budget, what to think about, how it works. walk through it, talk about numbers, do all that stuff, because it's hard to figure it out on
It
your
is
own.
hard.
How old is he?
He's only 3.
Okay, so it's a little bit early.
It is.
But-
It's a little early.
She plans ahead.
I do.
One of the earliest lessons you can do with your son, and probably a couple of years from now, not quite yet, is do you have an ice cream truck in your area
Oh, yeah.
that comes by?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you go to the ice cream truck, it costs $2 or $3 for this ice cream cone that looks like SpongeBob or
Yes.
whomever. And if you go to the store, you can buy 6 of these for $5 or $7 or whatever else. So it's like this money will buy you 1 at the truck, or maybe you would buy 3 at the truck to get 6 at the store. That kind of gets you something that they can put into perspective, that they can kind of process, because they know the difference between 1 ice cream and 2 ice creams.
That is a great idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That is, just to start teaching that thinking.
Yeah. And there's no real attachment to it. It's not like good or bad. It's just,
It's totally a choice. You can have
It's
this one
objective.
right now. I understand if you want this one right now and you're paying for the ice cream truck experience and whatever else. If what you want is more ice cream and you can wait till we go to the store, I'm not saying you're going to eat it all right now, but then it will be there for your convenience. And that's just something they can kind of feel the difference of. Yeah.
yeah. And then you get to know, what's a treat and what's, because down the road we make choices. Tonight I'm going to spend a little more and I'm going to get this
Because you want
meal
this experience.
versus or whatever it is versus it's not that important.
Right now.
Yeah. So I mean,
Right. We can take 2 friends and go to McDonald's, or we can take no friends and go to Red Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of decisions are decisions that younger kids can kind of understand without it getting too big into long term and short term and all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a good one.
Those are great ideas. Yeah. So, yeah. I was going to ask about having those in your book. Do you have those suggestions? You got another book coming out for children.
I have another. Well, no, it's not for kids. I mean, 14 or so, but not 3-year-olds. I haven't figured that. My drawings are not very good, so I'd need to get an artist and a whole big thing. Yeah. It's not in the budget.
Speaking of money.
Have you talked about financial things and financial decisions and stuff on your show?
No, we really
This is the first. Sydney's been after me a bit.
Thinking about it.
She has asked me several times, and so we are now, but we haven't in
took
the
a-
past.
No, and it took a bit.
It really did. Well, 2 things about finding somebody, because a lot of times when I think of financial, I think of all the details of financial advisor and that type of thing versus conversational money topic, and finding somebody who wasn't out to get somebody as a client and that kind of thing, but simply to
to talk about
engage.
it. So we really haven't, and it's taken a little bit, but it's definitely something that, I mean, even with my friends, which I think is good, at least with close ones, I think it's getting more common to be more open about it. Like we've gone through different house buying experiences and then talking about, well, we do a girls trip. Okay. Yeah. I can save up for this much. So let's look at, and it's like even a little bit of group budgeting sometimes.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I just felt like, it's something we need to put on our podcast so people know it's okay to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. And that, even within your age group, you can look at your different friends and there's just there's different earning power. There's different, what your priorities, there's,
it's all different.
Yeah. But you find a cohesive aspect to it. Yeah.
Right. And you don't have to be an expert to talk about money, because if you're just talking on your show, the 2 of you talking about a car buying experience. You don't have to say, well, I can't afford this or whatever, but you can talk about shopping around for interest rates and what your experience was without putting too much numbers into it. Because if you're trying to help people understand things by the amazing stories that Kelly can share,
Yeah.
Yes.
let some of them be financial stories.
Yeah.
That's true.
That is
And
true.
negotiating and how you feel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Definitely.
Because there was, like when Paul and I started out, everything we had was used.
Yeah.
Every piece for everything, we didn't have. And then we did get into some debt because we were living in Amarillo and I was not happy. So, Amarillo, Texas is not a place.
Not always a great
No.
place.
Anyway, so we did some traveling and got some debt. And then it was like, well, this doesn't feel good. So let's climb out of this
And figure out.
figure out how we live in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are stories you could be sharing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes just hearing the challenges that people go through. One of the things I do when I'm writing the book is I collect stories, because I can give you information, but if I didn't go through something, I can't really tell you the story. And a real story hits differently than I say, well, imagine if such and such happened to you.
Yeah.
Whereas someone else telling their story, I mean, your podcast, your incomplete podcast is a great conversation starter. It's a great way to show people the ways they can have those financial conversations with each other.
Write that in. That's true.
Oh,
That's
definitely.
true. I really hadn't thought about that.
I know. And I do think, I don't know, maybe it's not any more complicated than other generations, but I feel like sometimes, like people my age, it's like, okay, a lot of my friends have some student loan debts they've had to deal with.
Yeah.
And how do you budget and finance for that? And then, but they still want to start a family at some point. And so how do you manage both of that together on top of just everything being expensive? And on top of not, it's like negotiating at work. How do you negotiate for better salary or better benefit or whatever? I feel like sometimes, honestly, student loans are a big one, but different debt like that just makes it so complicated these days.
And it does. I was reading an article the other day about that, trying to compare who had it rougher.
Yes.
The baby boomers. And what, and I don't know what Europe was, but the, interest rates for a house were 18%.
I couldn't even.
So how do you deal with it, right? So they had that to contend with.
Yeah.
There's always different things. There's always different challenges. I do think right now the ratio of college to the ratio of average salary is out of whack, and that's a huge challenge. The ratio of housing to the ratio of income is out of whack compared to what it was when I was much younger, probably Kelly's age. And that impacts things. So that is challenging, but there are other challenges that we had that they don't have. So it's always going to be different.
Yeah, what a starter home used to be. I look at people's starter home now and I'm like, really? That was
that's like my third house.
Exactly. And that's supposed to be a starter? Oh, no.
True.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it becomes expectation, and just even the expenses that are standard now that I didn't pay. I didn't have a cell phone growing up, so I didn't have a cell phone bill. I didn't have internet, so I didn't have the internet service fee, the $100-$200 a month, depending on where you live and what it includes.
Yep.
I didn't have cable TV, so there wasn't a fee for that. I didn't have to have a computer, let alone, all the various computer devices and things that come with it, and the space for everybody to have their own computer set up.
Yeah,
is that
true.
Yes, and because I think about that, and I think of a landline, and it's like, I thought that was expensive. That ain't nothing.
Group cell phone.
It's like it just. And everything adds up. The streaming, let's cut the cable. Okay, well, let's double it because we spend it on streaming. And not knowing what you spend it on, I think, is a problem. How many things are we streaming?
Random subscriptions.
Oh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
You forget you're subscribed to something, and it's crazy.
And then it bills it automatically to your credit card, and you don't even realize you're paying for a streaming service or a gym service or whatever else you no longer use.
Yes. And they make it very difficult to unsubscribe. Yes.
And they make it difficult to find it because it's built into your bill. If you don't look at your bill every month and say, "Hey, wait a second, what is this?"
Yeah. Yep.
Then you don't realize, and that's it's a challenge to find those things.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And although they say, okay, the other thing is your statements online. They used to come in the mail, so you'd open it, you'd automatically see. Well, then you got, oh, I don't have time right now. I'm not going to look online. I'll do that later.
Yeah.
Maybe. Right? And it's like when it came in the mail, it was so
Easier.
much easier to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Convenient.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it was a reminder because it came in the mail.
Yeah.
So you would put it on your desk or your table, your counter, wherever it is, and you would have to pick it up and do something with it. Whereas now it comes in your email, you skip over it, and then 400 more emails come, and you never get back to it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Man.
Thank goodness for fraud alerts.
That too.
Yeah, and if we didn't have our cell phone, we wouldn't get our fraud alerts.
Right.
So funny. Yes. Yeah. So.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and have these very enlightening money conversations about learning about money, about talking about money. Do you think of anything you want to mention that maybe we haven't covered yet?
I can tell you how I feel about money because it was a struggle.
Yeah.
When I was in debt and when we married, I had no debt. I was really, because I've cycled, where I'd buy these clothes with a newly wonderful Dillard's credit card or whatever,
Yes.
and I learned that, Kelly, you can have one credit card.
Yeah.
That, that you use. Maybe have another because you need to build the stupid way you have to build your credit.
Yes.
So you have to spend and pay, it's like, that's a trick. But anyway, narrowing that down and getting out, it felt so good. And I love watching that little savings grow. And so I'd go, remember how that feels. Remember how it feels to have that cush, to have that money in the bank, have that flex, and so I really, and maybe that's the type of person I am, the feeling type, that type.
Yeah.
But I went with the feeling. It's kind of like after I exercise, I may not have wanted to exercise, but I love the feeling after.
Yeah.
And I can go, remember that feeling when I'm getting out of bed and don't want to go, that type of thing. So I associated money with that to go, that feels really good to when I use my credit card to pay it all off and go, and so I associate that with money.
No, that's good.
Yeah. And I remember how it feels.
What about you, Sydney?
I think money is just, even nowadays, sometimes it's like hard to bring up with my parents, you know? Yeah. And there are times I think now, and it depends, I mean, obviously on your level of privilege, but I think a lot of people as they get older and even in their 20s and early 30s, sometimes they're still dependent on ways that their parents can help them. And so you're having to continue these conversations of money when you don't want to.
When differently. Yeah.
And differently. And I think, and it can have this level of shame because at times, I mean, especially you're supposed to be done with that. You're supposed to be on your own. You're supposed to have your own money and do your own thing. But I think sometimes it's more common than we realize to continue to have these money ties and to continue to have this help. And there's not really there shouldn't be a shame around it. And it should be something to be grateful for if you can have it. And if you're, can still have that healthy relationship with your parents through it and stuff. Yeah. And so I think it's something that money gives you independence, yes, and freedom. But, if you need help along the way, that can always, be okay too.
That's okay too.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Well, Kelly and Sydney, thank you so much for being my guests today. I appreciate you taking the time to join us here.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
And to my listeners, I will be sharing a link to Kelly and Sydney's podcast, An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth, in the show notes. Please check them out. They have a lot of fun and a lot of interesting information. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and stay tuned. I'll see you next time. This has been Money Marcy on Marcy Talks Money and Life. You got this.